This is Middle Class Matt from don'tbuythehype.blogspot.com, and I am the sports genius. I'm doing picks, NFL picks, or previews and predictions for each division in football. This one today I'm covering is the NFC West. In the NFC West, we're looking at a little bit, probably the only division in the NFC to me that's rather weak. Now, when I'm looking at these teams and I'm making picks, a lot of times I can look at a team like San Fran, which is the only really good team in that division. And before the season started last year, nobody even thought they'd be a good team, or that there would be a good team out there. I think I picked that the team would be like 8-8, and most of the teams, or two of the other teams, were around 8-8. I think Seattle was 7-9, and the Arizona Cardinals were 8-8. So I thought that kind of way that whole division would go. And San Fran, with Jim Harbaugh coming over, changing the culture of the team, really pushed this team, into being one of the dominant teams in the NFL. But you think, with the veterans they added, Randy Moss, Brandon Jacobs, the different things they did in the offseason, that they could be even better than last year's record. And last year they were 13-3, so you could say they're probably 13-3 or 14-2. But when you look at game to game, it makes it more difficult because the NFL is so good, and especially the NFC, that it really, game to game, you could see a good team only winning 10 or 11 games during the year. So, starting off, it's the St. Louis Rams. Last year they were one of the worst teams in the NFL. I think they were second worst, and they only won 2 games. Or maybe there was 2 teams that won 2 games. So they were tied for the worst team in the entire NFL. This year I see an improvement with him. I see them going to 5-11. I think Sam Bradford will be healthy. They have a new coach, so they'll have to adapt to that. But Fisher will bring some discipline that they probably lacked last year. And he's always a good defensive mind. They've got some good running backs. They have some nice defensive players to work with, like Chris Long and others. And so I see them being an improved team at 5-11. The Arizona Cardinals were 8-8 last year, and I see them taking a step backwards and being 6-10. Their schedule's difficult. Lots of good names, big time teams that they're playing, having to travel from west to east. That always makes a difference when I pick games. I look at that west to east travel because it always gives you kind of jet lag. A lot of teams go over early just to make up for that. Now they have some nice players like Larry Fitzgerald on offense, Beanie Wells. They have some good defensive players, but their quarterback controversy and not really having a definite quarterback between Cobb and Skelton makes me think that inconsistency in that position, the most important position in all sports, will probably leave them being 6-10, which is a little worse than they were at 500 last year. Plus, like I said, the NFC is just tough. Seattle was 7-9. I see them improving a little bit to 8-8. They did it with defense last year. But they do have some nice offensive weapons, Marshawn Lynch and Sidney Rice. But they have a question with quarterback too. Now, if one of the quarterbacks step up, they could be really good. But for the most part, they have questions at the quarterback that's going to hold them back from being a really good team or a playoff team. But they're still going to be 8-8. Pete Carroll, despite all his flaws, always seems to get the best out of his players, and surprised me last year to get 7 wins with a team that had absolutely no quarterback. Now they have 2 pretty good ones in that competition. If one emerges from Matt Flynn and Russell Wilson, this could be a team that could win some games. So I have them at 8-8. San Francisco 49ers. They're going to be the cream of the crop in this division in the NFC West, and they will go 12-4. Now, like I said, they were 13-3 last year, and you think, well, they'll probably be as good or improve, especially with the additions they've added on. But they have a difficult schedule, and they have 4 hard games on there that I really just think they can't overcome, and I think some of them are, once again, the west to east travel. So they're going to be probably the elite team in defense, or one of the elite teams in the NFL. They have a phenomenal defense, especially with players like Patrick Willis leading the way, and then they had the rookie last year at defensive end who really stepped up, and he should have a banner season and probably make improvements. Their offense is good. They run the football. They pound it. Alex Smith still, I know he proved that he's a pretty good quarterback, but still hasn't done enough to me to get that elite level and, push this team on. So, going to be a playoff team, going to be the cream of crop in this division. But how they do in the playoffs, you have to wait and see my playoff wrap-up, which I'll be doing. I pick games for every Sunday, too, or 16 games a week. So, you have to look out for that. I do fantasy on my league. Lots of things about fantasy. We'll talk about my fantasy draft, so check that out. Also, be sure to put your picks right below in the comment box, because people make comments like, middle class, that's a dumb pick. There's no way that's right. And I want all your comments, but put your picks and see if you can match up with me. See if you're right. Last year I had a pretty good record, but nobody's perfect. I didn't pick San Fran. Maybe you did. But put them down there, put them in writing, and that way we know who's right. So, this is Middle Class Matt, and I'll see you next time.